Hey, so I have a lot of things to do today, and so I'm going to try to be very brief here so I can get back to, the stuff I have to do. My mom kind of like, and on top of like everything I have to do, my mom asked me to kind of like try and enroll my brother in different internships. He graduated high school and also, has now a technical degree in, technology. So he's trying to, go through that, but like he can it can only be an internship if his is associated with some educational facility. So basically, like the idea is for me to kind of like do this as if he's going to start next February, and yeah, so. Basically, that's one of the things I have to do. I think it's going to probably take me about like an hour and a half because I'm supposed to look for like lots of different opportunities, and so yeah, I'm kind of like foreseeing like an hour and a half of work. And this afternoon we have to go get my medication at state pharmacy. So that is another thing for me to kind of like. It's going to kind of like take me away from the things I have to do. Everything like I can do it from home. Like from my computer. Yeah, basically that's that. I have like a lot of like small things to kind of like do, and also like I have this ongoing project of saving my videos on this external HD. So that is also something. Yeah, so like I have, and that's going to be like a long-term project because I have to get everything from June 2021 till now. So that's going to be a lot. But yeah, so basically, a lot of like small things to do, and on top of that, like other regular stuff. That's writing. I don't know if I'll be able to do get any writing done today because, as I said, like I have a lot of like small things to sort out. But yeah, so basically, like that being said, let me just talk about what I wanted to talk about. Because I've been kind of like questioning whether, because I'm going to therapy. I have like my therapy at the local health center, and that one it doesn't really do much. I think at least like that's my impression right now. But it's still like I think it's important for me to go, and I have like the other therapy that I pay for, and I don't know, like I started like last month, and it's been really good, but I'm kind of like thinking about like whether I'm getting close to an end. I don't know if like my therapist would agree, but like that's an extra expense that I have to like something I have to afford every month, and like it's about each session is 150 reais, and they have about like 4 sessions per month, which means that it is 600, and that is uh, like between half and a third of my like the money I make every month. So like that is a new expense that I mean, naturally I know I shouldn't really be thinking about this from like a monetary perspective. I should be thinking about it from the benefits I'm getting from the therapy. But I don't know, I think we're getting close to an end here because yeah, I think that like in a few months, if I feel like I should get back to it, I could, but right now I'm kind of considering kind of like stopping. I don't know if that is a good idea because like in that ideal world in which I didn't really have to pay for it, I'll keep going. But I do live in this world where I have to pay for it. So like that is kind of, yeah, like that is weighing on my mind. That's something I have to consider. But like I have my little videos. My little videos, they allow me to kind of like process things. So I know this doesn't replace therapy, but it is something that I'm kind of like I have on my mind. But yeah, so basically, as I mentioned, in my last video, I have been, like in terms of, fancies, I've been having less, which is, precisely what I wanted. So I'm doing well regarding that. I'm more invested in the things happening in my life, and more naturally, I have to be kind of like careful because some of the things I enjoy in life involve eating, and I'm trying to lose weight. So that is something for me to consider. But yeah, but basically, I'm very devoid of fantasies. There's like one thing here and there, but for the most part, I'm kind of like set on like where I am at right now. But yeah, but so yeah, so basically, as I mentioned before, life is good. But I do like to kind of like examine the past, and like when I look at that, I see there's a lot of like different things for me to see. I've been trying to become a more genuine version of myself, the version that I was, when I was younger, when I was a kid, before traumas happened and like things changed, how I thought. So yeah, so like that is a bit of a journey for me. And I don't know, like I think that I've been acknowledging a lot of like important things for me. I've been like invested in kind of like trying to undo some of like the harm of like my experiences in life. So for example, like things that made me kind of like push people away and not want to be as present like socially. And I think I'm doing a good job like interacting more and like creating opportunities for me to interact, for me to socialize, for me to kind of like engage with my fellow humans. And I think that is part of like me healing, like me kind of like I'm just putting myself out there, and I don't have like the self-consciousness of not in a bad way, but like so because yeah, like I'm not self-conscious, I'm self-aware, but like I'm not self-conscious about just putting myself out there. And this is something that comes with age. Like you have to live life to some extent, like you have to have certain experiences for you to be able to let go of some stuff. So yeah, so basically I'm at this point where like I'm trying to like undo a lot of the harm that like life did. I mean, actually, like I usually talk a lot about traumas and like very heavy traumas and how like they molded me and like they made me the person who I am, which is something I'm trying to undo, and I think I'm being mostly successful. But like they're like smaller things as well. It doesn't have to be as dramatic, but they are traumas. They are things that I think if it shifts the way you behave, you act, like I do think that is it's a trauma of sorts. So basically I've been kind of like trying to undo, as I said, some of like the impressions I had, and some of the things I've internalized, because there's a lot of stuff that I kind of like realize right now that I really internalized that. For example, I kind of like like I was never really particularly popular. I was a bit of a loser in some ways, but I'm not saying this like in a self-deprecating way. It's just that I wasn't, yeah, like I wasn't very well rounded in my interactions, and like me pushing people away did not help with that. So yeah, basically what I'm trying to say is that I think like I had this mentality, like I kind of like internalized that, and kind of like that I wasn't, I guess, like a very enjoyable person to be around. That I didn't have much to offer in terms of like socially speaking, and also naturally like it has to do with effort, because if you want to do anything, like you have to put in the time, and that was in itself that was a journey in and of itself, for me to get to a point where I'm like I guess like I don't look down at myself like that, and it's interesting because just I can even acknowledging this feels wrong, because for so long I also tried to push this narrative that like I was great, that there was nothing wrong with me, that I was like everything I needed in order to kind of like achieve my dreams, which I know that maybe saying this, it seems like that is like they should still think that way, because that's kind of because because there are circumstances, there are things that happen, they're out of their control. So you're not 100% in charge of your destiny, of like your fate, of where you get it, because there are things that you can change about yourself and about the world, and about how things work. And that was something that I think it took me a little while for me to accept this. I think for the longest time I was very kind of, how do I put this? I was very like because I really wanted certain things, and like I did have to believe that like they were all like within my reach, and because like if I didn't, like it just kind of like led to despair. Like I would despair, and I didn't want that. I wanted to be kind of like, yeah, I wanted to feel in control. I wanted to be in control, but sometimes I wasn't. So at least I wanted to feel that. So I think I created situations, and yeah, I created like situations in which I could kind of like feel that control. Things that don't necessarily have to do with like my actual life. Just this kind of compartmentalized these things. So like other aspects of my life that didn't have to do with like work, school. And I was like, I'm going to exercise control here, and that was very unhealthy, because I was kind of like I was walking in a landmine, kind of like, because anything that could happen that could kind of like show that maybe things were not as I kind of like make them seem in my head, they would just lead to like this spiral. I was kind of like this was a slippery slope. Like I would get, it started with me not feeling control and ended with me wanting to just end everything. Of course, there's like many steps in between, but I think that when I was younger, like it was kind of like a direct thread. I think that working on myself, it has meant that I'm breaking down this in steps, and if I can break things down, if I have like this smaller parts to deal with, like it's easier for me to just exist, because now I'm not just jumping from one point to the end. There's like some steps, and then I can control those steps much more easily, much easier. It takes more easily, and yeah, so like that is that was a journey. It wasn't something that happened overnight, but like right now that I'm kind of like at the other end, I can look back and feel like, yeah, there was. I think it's also good for me because I look back and I see progress, because sometimes when you're going through it, like you don't really see, because it's a slow process, so you don't really see change, and that is kind of like discouraging, because it feels like, okay, I'll always be like this. There's never going to be a solution or something for me to attach myself to, and that is not a good mindset to have. Like, it is good for you to think that there's always something you can do, and that sooner or later you're going to figure it out, and you're going to because it goes back to resilience and adaptability. I think sometimes like the way for you to practice like resilience is for you to kind of like let your brain kind of, I mean, your brain has to be in the right mindset. Like, you have to like if you're like very despondent, like it doesn't like you're not going to look at things and find solutions. You're going to be kind of like stuck. So basically, what you need is sometimes you need to take a break. You need to like walk away from like your circumstances, and so you can kind of like look at things differently. And that is something that I think I've learned the hard way. I mean, it's not necessarily that anything bad happened, but it took me some time for me to get to this point where I can just be like, okay, let me just take a break from life, from everything that is happening, because like you need those moments. Sometimes you have to step away from a project for you to have like come back with like a fresh perspective, and that is true, for example, when I'm writing, but it's also true with life. You have to yeah, sometimes like you need to look at different possibilities. You have to do a little studying and see outwardly like what exactly you can learn from the situations, the circumstances. And so yeah, so it's very interesting. Sorry. And it's kind of like it comes with age. I think I'm at a point where I think that I am like naturally more resourceful, and as I said, it has to do with like living. Like, you have more experience, you're kind of like being through more things, and that leads to kind of like you have a bigger array of possibilities. Like there's like you can look at things, and because also like I talked about this before a lot, the thing about wisdom and intelligence. I know it's from the Bible, something that Solomon wrote, that intelligence is learning from your mistakes and wisdom is learning from other people's mistakes. And I also talked about how sometimes I need to make my own mistakes, because I don't really learn from just like watching people. Like there's a part of me that is still like very much like, okay, but like this can work out for me. Maybe it doesn't work out on the long run, but like for me it's going to work out. I think that like right now I am better at kind of like looking around and finding examples of like what to do and what not to do. But it took time for me to get to this point. Like it took me a lot of like it was a trial and error situation. Like it took me making mistakes and wasting time, wasting my life, wasting effort, and kind of like wasting. I mean, technically you could say that you're not really wasting any hard work, because like you learn from it, like you advance to your life one way or another. Maybe not the way that you kind of like anticipated, but it's still still something. But yeah, so basically I'm kind of I'm not stuck, but like I do think that I've reached a certain plateau with therapy, like with what's happening there. So I'm kind of I don't know what I'm gonna do, basically. But I think a part of me already does know. And I think it's also something interesting to be said about instinct, because like your instinct, it kind of like gets better the older you are, because you have more experience. Like that gut feeling, and there's some things that I used to be kind of like small things I should be indecisive about, and these days I'm just very very sure of what I'm doing. Also, I think it has to come true with the fact that I've got kind of like I accept now that like I'm not going to be able to seize every opportunity. There's going to be some stuff that I'm not going to do because sometimes it is multiple choice. You have many possibilities, but sometimes like things are mutually exclusive. Like if you choose something, you kind of like letting something go. So there's that. And there's nothing wrong with like letting things go. Although, as I said, when I was younger, I hated that. Like that made me kind of like almost mad at times because I really wanted to enjoy everything. I wanted to do everything. I wanted to kind of like be able to do it all. And as I said, there's nothing wrong with that. But I know it's not really realistic for me to expect that. And I think it comes from this very interesting complex that I had, in which I really thought I was, like the best thing ever. Like that I would kind of like achieve great heights. And it's not that like right now I'm like, I think I have a more grounded approach to it. Like it's not that I can still achieve great things. It's just that the things specifically that I wanted, I was not born in a context, to make them happen. Like there are certain, I still, as I said, I can still reach great heights, but like these heights are never going to be as high as, like my delusions, my megalomaniac fantasies. And that's okay, it's okay. And as long as I'm happy, and like right now I'm at a point where I definitely, know things that I can do that actively, bring joy to my life. And I'm kind of like coming into myself, like I'm becoming the person who you could argue I was supposed to be. Not that there's any force or anything like that is kind of like coordinating these things. It's just that I'm kind of like finding myself, so I know like what I can do to make my life better, to make things easier for me, and to enjoy life more. And it's very kind of like I don't know, and these things, they kind of like, there's a certain longevity aspect to it, because some of these things involve like me kind of like keeping on living and having more experiences and doing more things. So I think that in terms of like me being suicidal, like that is not really the case right now. And I'm even beyond that. Like I'm kind of like planning ahead, and I'm excited about what is to come, even if I don't fully know what is out there. I know that I have immediate capacity of going through things. Like maybe things are not going to happen, as I'm planning them. There are going to be some things that I'm not seeing, I'm not foreseeing them. And it's okay, because as I said, like I can handle them as they come. I don't have to kind of like destabilized by these things. And both, like there's some things like they come and like initially you think that they are kind of like ruining something, but kind of like you learn to accept that is the reality, and you learn to work with it, like work with the circumstances. So I am very happy that things are working out for me, and I have confidence that they're going to keep on working out, because like I'm in a place where I can make them work out, because there is a healthy balance between what you can do and what happens to you. And as I said, like before, I wanted to have nothing of this. I didn't want things to just happen. I wanted to make them happen. Although at the same time, you could argue that I was waiting for something to happen. It's just that as I said, they were not really realistic. But there was kind of like that dichotomy in my behavior, because on one hand, like I want to make things happen. On the other, I need things to change. I need certain circumstances to change. I need certain things to happen to me, so I could get to like that point. I'm not right now like doing much better, as I said, with like the things that I can control. And I think that this speaks of like longevity, not only of my projects, the things I want to do, but of myself. Like I'm going to on the long run, I'm going to keep existing. And that's something that I want, which hasn't always been the case. Of course, that part of me is waiting for the ball to drop and for things to change for me. But like I'm enjoying, things as they are right now. And honestly, like the more time passes, the more confident I get that I am like this is, working on the long run. But yeah, so basically, as I was mentioning, like there was this dichotomy of me kind of like wanting to make things happen, but at the same time, expecting certain things to kind of like occur, so that like my dreams could come true. And right now, I think I have a much healthier version of like, okay, this is within my reach, and trying to rely less on things happening. Like making sure that like I'm making them happen. that I'm the one, like I'm active in my pursuit of things. Because on one hand, like I think I've always, like I've said that I was trying to be active on these things, but on the other, what was happening didn't really translate because I was still waiting. And that is, like a whole thing for me to get over. Like that is, yeah, the whole thing for me too, because I mentioned this before. Like I want to make things happen. I don't want things to just because also, like I can rely on, like these external circumstances, like, and even if we depend on them, it is still good for you to have kind of like a backup plan, plan B, plan C, plan D. And I used to think that that was the case, that I had like many plans, but honestly they were just like smoke and mirrors. It's nothing, nothing concrete, nothing attainable. It was always it was always it was nothing, basically. I didn't have plans, I had fantasies. And right now I'm starting to make plans about things. I'm starting to foresee a future in which all these bad habits, all these bad tendencies, they're no longer plaguing me, that I'm kind of like away from them. And that like I'm thinking, because also like you have to be realistic, and which is why I think that like so many of the things that I have going on for me that make me kind of like want to keep going, they are kind of they're kind of like small in the greater scheme of things. So it's stuff like getting a gelato sometimes, or like try these new flavors that they have, getting a tattoo, finishing my novel. I mean, that is kind of big, but like having a little moment every day of me writing, to kind of because I said I want to conclude this project, and there's so many different things in my way right now, but I still want to make some time every day for my writing. And I think this is the type of action and attitude I need to have, for things to happen on the long run. Because everything, like you're building up, all these projects that you have, all these desires, it's a build up. Like they don't happen, like out of nowhere. You need to you need to kind of like plant the little seeds for you to get there. But yeah, so I'm gonna wrap this up right now. I think that I could still talk more, but I'm not feeling dizzy, but I do feel like I need to lie down, which could be a bad thing, because usually when I feel this way when I'm getting depressed. But I'm just positive feelings only. Like I'm not losing myself. I'm grounded. Even if like the mindset comes, even if like I have an episode, I'm still grounded. So anyways, bye.